Alrighty, hello. So welcome to my time capsule for my everything you wanted to know about the Cold War in a shoebox. Mine is obviously on the Berlin Wall, as you could probably read in English there. The top part is German. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I'm not even going to try. Uh, so the outside of my box, it's fairly plain. The front and back are both just black. Um, I wanted to represent the east side as something very simple, but something that was very dark also. Um, and then over here, we have the west side of the wall, which I've kind of decorated with splatters of ink and whatnot. Um, I was going to cover it in graffiti, but then I realized that nothing that I would do could ever live up to the German artists of the time. But we'll be able to see some of their artwork inside the box. So when we take a look at the box, we get our first little peek, if that's all right if I go like this, of the German flag. And the German flag was obviously a big part of the Berlin Wall because the Berlin Wall was in Germany. um, for my second little object here, I have the date, August 13th, 1961, where wall building began. A little fun fact, that 36 years later, Karina is born. So, fun. I have a symbol of communism, which was the Soviet Union's deal back in the day, back in 1961. And then I have their obvious counterpart, the United States or the capitalists. There's no real symbol for capitalism, so I thought that the closest thing that I could get to portraying that feeling or that object is the American flag, which is who the Soviet Union were fighting against at the time. Um, then I have another important thing, the flag of Berlin. Berlin's flag is important because no matter which side of the wall you were on, this flag was still flown during this time. So I thought that was rather interesting. And here I have two sides of the wall. I have both sides. I have the east side of the wall, which was very plain. It had no graffiti on it whatsoever. It was the communist side of Germany. And then its counterpart is, let me get it here, the west side, and that is a picture of some of the most beautiful pieces of graffiti I've ever seen in my life. This was just one of the paintings on the wall on the west side. Um, I love this. Of course, there are different pieces of graffiti that are also very famous, like the faces and the car and the wall and the kissing. But I don't know. I just really like this. I like how it has all the signatures on it and how it's very simple, but there's a lot of stuff going on at the same time, which is just about how the Cold War was going. um, Here I have some important people. Here I have Gunter Litvin, who I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He died on August 24th of 1961, and he was the first person to be shot dead trying to cross the wall. So that's one man. And then if we jump ahead in time a little bit here, we can see Chris Joffrey. I really hope that I'm saying his name right. And he passed away on February 6th of 1989, and he was the last person to be shot dead trying to cross the wall. So two very important people there. Next I have a quote. Excuse my poor German, but ich bin ein Berliner, which is what John F. Kennedy said when he visited Germany, which translates to, I am a Berliner, which the German people thought was really funny. When I was reading this, I thought that this was also pretty funny, because in Germany, a Berliner is a type of German donut, a jelly-filled donut. So they would mock Kennedy as him saying that he called himself a donut. Um, and this was justifiable just because the Germans were obviously very angry at a man who tried to relate to them when they thought that he was the one causing the problem. He was the one that had forced their city into dividing, really. They were part of the Cold War, and thus Germany was angry at them. Um, Here we have a pretty good map of where the wall actually was. So everything outlined in the heavy black, so basically West Berlin outlined. That's where the wall was. Checkpoint Charlie, which is over there, was a very important checkpoint. Checkpoints were the places where the Germans could come and go as they please. Not really as they please, but with a permit at times. There were times when when even if you had a permit, it would still be revoked because times were pretty tough back in the day. Then we have another U.S. president quote. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, by Ronald Reagan. He was after Kennedy, obviously. And Ronald Reagan's quote was very important because by then people were already getting tired of the war, although I still find it quite ironic that one of the countries who started the war would still be pining for the war to end when it's partially, on their hands. So here's a little visual for you. So approximately 200 people died trying to cross the wall. So if you can put a name and a face to every single one of these stick people, every single one of them, they would be the amount of people that died trying to cross the Berlin Wall, which is really, really sad when you think about it. So lighten the mood, though. I have a comic, which doesn't really lighten the mood, but I love political comics. So here we have one man caught in between what is supposed to obviously be the Berlin Wall. And we have West Berlin looking very fancy indeed, kind of confused as where his other half went. And then we have East Berlin, tattered, totally just eaten to the bone, you can see. And I think that puts it into perspective. West Berlin was supposed to be a very dangerous place, and instead it turned out that it thrived. Where East Berlin under communism starved itself. I had to have this quote, down with the wall. At one of the rallies, 3 teenagers died by police forces in a chant that said explicitly, down with the wall in German. Now I don't know if you can see this. I'll put it against the table so you can see it better. Oh, look at my feet. It says, this is 1 foot. So that's from this end of the stick to this end of the stick. The Berlin Wall was 96 miles long. That's 506,880 feet around. So if you could just take that little bit of a visual, I thought that was a very interesting fact, considering just how long it was. Here I have some barbed wire. This is real barbed wire, by the way. And I had to put it in here because barbed wire was one of the safest things that I could put in my box that they actually did use as a guard for the Berlin Wall, which is frightening if you think about it, because I've cut my skin on this, I've cut my clothes on this. I can only imagine how frightening it would be to have it lining a wall that I know that I could not cross. And my last 3 objects are more just dates, very important dates. November 9th, 1989, the Berlin Wall is officially taken down, which means that deconstruction started, I guess, November 9th. Then we have on October 3rd, 1990, Germany is officially a unified country again, which was really important considering that a little bit less than a year ago, there was still a huge 96-mile long wall through its main city. And then my very last item is the date of December 25th, 1990, when the Soviet Union dissolves. These are all very important dates for their own reasons, and they all relate to the Berlin Wall very closely. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope that you enjoyed it. There are all my objects one last time. Maybe you'll be able to count them up. And thank you for watching.